Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today, we have another episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup, and we have a lot to go ahead and discuss in today's video, guys. A lot has gone down in the Championship in the past week, which we are going to be discussing in today's video, and of course we have a lot of transfer rumours to go ahead and talk through. So if you guys have seen anything going around the Championship recently, make sure to get it in the comments down below. And like I said, we've got a lot to go ahead and talk about in today's video, guys. Derby have been very busy in the transfer window lately. Sheffield United, we've seen them break their transfer record this week. Bolton Wanderers went ahead and released a new kit, and as well as that, we're also seeing Aston Villa potentially having a takeover going on very shortly indeed. So all that will be discussed in today's video, guys. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. So before we do get into any of the transfers, we've actually got some kits to go ahead and talk about, which were released in the past couple of days. So first of all, we have the new Bolton Wanderers away kit. Now, I said in my video the other day, I wasn't really the biggest fan of their home kit. It wasn't really doing it for me, but that away kit, I actually think that looks really nice. The red on the black, I think, blends in very nicely to the kit, and overall, I'd say that is a much nicer kit than their home shirt. Bolton fans, what do you think of it? Let me know down below. And as well as Bolton, Hull City have also gone ahead and released their away kit the other day, and this is what they've come up with. And I'm not gonna lie, once again, I am a massive fan of this kit. Umbro this season really have. I think they've outdone themselves really with a lot of their kits. You know, on the whole, I've been a big fan of a lot of their kits this season, and Hull City's away kit is no exception to that. So let me know down below what you guys are thinking of some of those new kits which have come out recently. But enough of that, guys. Let's go ahead and start talking about some of the recently completed deals which have gone through in the last week. The first thing to talk about isn't actually a new signing, but once again will be probably Ipswich Town's one of their best bits of business they'll do this transfer window. That is the fact that Bartosz Bilkowski has signed a new contract at the club, of course. There's been quite a lot of speculation linking him away from Ipswich Town in this transfer window, but he's gone ahead and signed a new contract, and overall that is massive. You know, I'd probably argue that he's one of the most underrated goalkeepers in the Championship, and the fact that, you know, they're being talked about at the moment, Ipswich, with relegation, having a keeper like that, I don't think they're going to be going down this season. One goalkeeper who was on the move in this transfer window, though, was Ben Amos, who has moved to Millwall on loan from Bolton Wanderers. Now, I'm not completely convinced by this transfer, I'm not going to lie. Ben Amos, me myself, I've never really been the biggest fan of him, of course. Millwall were looking for a new goalkeeper going into this season, someone to put a bit of pressure on Jordan Archer and compete with him after he was making a couple of blunders last season. Do I see Ben Amos being an improvement on Jordan Archer? Honestly, I'm not completely convinced. Millwall fans, what do you think of this one? We also saw Swansea City complete the signing of Joe Lasoro coming in from Sunderland, of course. In the second half of last season, probably Lasoro was one of the only players who actually stood out to me in that Sunderland side. You know, playing as either a striker or as a winger, it was always going to be hard for him to go ahead and flourish in that Sunderland side. You know, they were destined to fail from the start, really. But moving to Swansea, I'm actually excited to see what he can bring this season. He's only 19 years old and is very highly rated, so bringing a bit more pace to that Swansea attacking line, I'm interested to see what he can do this season. We've also seen Leeds United complete the loan signing of Jamal Blackman coming in from Chelsea on a season-long loan. Of course, last season he was going ahead and loaned out to Sheffield United, where on the whole I was actually very impressed by him. I think that this was obviously a position where Leeds needed to strengthen this season. You know, last season having Felix Wiedwald in there, he made a lot of blunders, so this was an obvious position where Leeds were needing to target. I think that getting Blackman on loan for a season, I think he'll be a good keeper for them. West Brom have also brought in another keeper. They've gone ahead and signed Jonathan Bond. He'll probably be a second choice goalkeeper coming in to play backup for Sam Johnson. And speaking of West Brom, they've also gone ahead and completed the signing of Kyle Bartley coming in from Swansea City, and on the whole I am very impressed by this signing, really. I think Kyle Bartley showed from his time at Leeds a couple of seasons ago he is a very capable defender in the Championship, and whoever West Brom choose to go ahead and partner him up with, you know, whether it'll be Dawson or Hegazi, depending on who else stays at West Brom, and they've got a very good defender there in Kyle Bartley, so I'm looking forward to seeing what West Brom will actually go ahead and do this season. You know, some of the players they're being linked to at the moment are very encouraging. Some of the deals they've done already as well have been quite good, so West Brom, they're looking alright going into this season. And one side who has been very busy in the last week in the Championship has of course been Derby County. They've gone ahead and completed two loan signings. Of course, they went ahead and signed Harry Wilson and Mason Mount. Harry Wilson coming in from Liverpool and Mount coming in from Chelsea. So Frank Lampard already showing his, you know, the connections he has. I think both of them will go on to play quite large roles for them this season, of course. Last season with Derby having Casey Palmer in there, you know, Mount will look to fill that void of having that creative midfielder who can go forward. Last season on loan at Vitesse, Chelsea actually very highly rated him, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the Championship, of course. Last season we of course saw Harry Wilson playing for Hull in 11 starts for Hull whole last season, he was able to score 7 goals for them. So what he can do with Derby over a whole season under Frank Lampard, I'm looking forward to seeing that. And as well as completing those 2 loan signs, they of course signed Josephine as well, coming in from Brentford. And Brentford this week, they've lost some big players, you know, but Josephine coming into Derby, I think he'll be a welcome addition, of course. Derby were in need of bringing in a winger or two after they, of course, lost Vyman to Bristol City earlier on in this transfer window. But quite a tricky winger, you know, brings an abundance of pace to this Derby side. Last season for Brentford, went ahead and scored 7 goals and picked up 7 assists as well. And what is very interesting about this transfer was that Leeds United were very interested in bringing in Josephine, but reportedly that Frank Lampard was actually a big reason why he chose to go to Derby County. So we're already seeing the Lampard effect take place at Derby County, so I'm very excited to see what he's able to do this season with Derby. And speaking of Brentford losing players, they've of course also gone ahead and lost John Egan, who completed his move to Sheffield United for a club record fee. So Sheffield United not messing about at the moment. Of course, they had a lot of money coming in recently from the sale of David Brooks, and they've looked to go ahead and strengthen their back line first of all. This was a very smart investment, I think, from Sheffield United. And, you know, if you can imagine the back 3 that they're going to have next season of Egan, O'Connell, and then we'll say Chris Basham, that's a very solid lineup for the Championship. And considering, you know, every other position on the pitch, it's looking decent for Sheffield United at the moment. Hull City lately have also been quite busy in this transfer window. They went ahead and completed the loan signing of Todd Kane coming in from Chelsea. As well as that, they also signed George Long coming in from Sheffield United. Of course, they were in need of a goalkeeper, so who knows, this could be a successful one for them. Quite an interesting one as well. Ipswich Town went ahead and signed Edwards coming in from Peterborough, and I think that this can be a good signing if he manages to stay fit. You know, I think he showed last season in League One. He's a very capable player who I do think he'll be able to make the step up to the Championship. Obviously, Paul Hurst being a big fan of him. Injuries over his, you know, the last few years for Edwards have been a problem for him, but if Ipswich are able to keep him fit, I think he will be a good signing. Darren Sadil went ahead and completed the move to Reading. He's actually moving from Ajax, so quite an exciting deal for Reading there. And we've also seen Yannick Vilchuk complete a loan move to Bolton Wanderers. Now, there was, you know, a couple of weeks ago, quite a lot of negativity around Bolton after the whole, you know, unpaid contract saga, but since then, I've got to admit, some of Bolton's signings this season have very impressed me, actually, and Yannick Vilchuk is another one who I think will slot right in this Bolton side. If they do manage to get another striker in, you know, 3 playing behind the striker of Vilchuk, Oztuma and Amiobi, I think that's a very solid lineup for the Championship. So guys, there were some of the recently completed deals which have gone through in the Championship. So if I did leave any out, make sure to let me know about them in the comments down below. What I'd also be interested to know from you guys is, on the whole, have you been happy or not with your club's transfer business so far? You know, we've got a few weeks left of this transfer window. Do you think your club's done enough to go ahead and impress you so far? Let me know down below. So now guys, we will move on into talking about some transfer rumours, but before we go ahead and do that, when I'm recording this video, there is actually some breaking news coming out of Aston Villa. It's currently being reported that a company owned by Nassef Suarez and Wes Edens are to invest serious investment into Aston Villa Football Club, and reportedly this investment has been approved by the EFL, so there is reason for optimism at Aston Villa at the moment. You know, we can't be getting too carried away with this. You know, at the moment it's still very unclear what this will actually mean for Aston Villa going into this season. I mean, Nassef Suarez is an Egyptian businessman who has a net worth of 6.7 billion, and he's the main person at the moment behind this investment going into Aston Villa. So quite an interesting time at the moment in the Championship. We'll wait to see how this unfolds over the next week or so, but perhaps this could have an effect on some transfer rumours. The first of which, of course, being Jack Grealish being linked with a move to Spurs. Now, this transfer rumour has been rumbling on for the entirety of this transfer window. You know, with Villa having the financial troubles that they were having, you know, it was inevitable that they were going to have to sell Jack Grealish. But with this new investment coming into the club, what will this mean for the Jack Grealish deal? I'm not so sure. Over the last few days, it was said that Spurs and Aston Villa were in talks about agreeing a deal for Jack Grealish to leave Aston Villa, but that can be put on hold now with this investment coming into the club. So it's a very interesting time at Aston Villa at the moment. Let me know down below what you guys are thinking about this. I'm very interested to hear some Villa fans' perspectives on what you think is going to go down over the next few weeks or so, and whether Jack Grealish will stay or not. And something I did find quite interesting was that Dean Marney is currently training with Aston Villa. Now, the thing that makes me sort sort of laugh about this is potentially, if obviously Aston Villa do choose to sign Dean Marney, they could have a midfield three next season of Dean Marney, Glenn Whelan and Niall Jedinak. And you may think that, yeah, that's a pretty experienced midfield three for the Championship, but they would have a combined age of 101. I mean, there's experience and then there's that. But in all seriousness, I don't really see Dean Marney as the type of player that Aston Villa should be targeting at the moment. He is training with them currently, but I think it will just be training. I can't see them signing him really because, like I said, they just don't need that type of player at the moment. One very interesting transfer rumour going around at the moment is that of Tom Ince, who is being heavily linked with a move to Stoke City. Currently the fee being talked about is around about £10 million for the winger, and in my opinion he does strike me someone who can really light up the Championship, but in the Premier League he's never really been able to cut it. Of course, he's currently playing for Huddersfield. Last season in the Premier League he only managed to go ahead and score 2 goals, and some of his performances for them, you know, I do watch a lot of the Premier League obviously, some of his performances for Huddersfield showed a bit of promise, but I feel like Huddersfield can do better really. But in terms of Tom Ince in the Championship, he's a fantastic player. I believe in each of his 3 seasons with Derby County he was able to score double figures for them, the last time in the Championship scoring 14 goals, and his best season came in the 2012/13 season with Blackpool, where he was able to score 18 goals in the Championship. So if Stoke do manage to pull this off, I think it will be a very positive deal for them. Of course, they were first of all heavily linked with a move for Matt Ritchie. That one doesn't look to be happening at the moment, so they look to have switched their attention to Tom Ince. But overall, I think for a Championship winger, Tom Ince is a top player. Is he worth £10 million? I don't know, I suppose in the current market maybe. Another transfer rumour which has resurfaced recently is one that I'm not happy about. That is Ben Pearson, who once again is being linked with a move away from Preston North End. Currently there are a few clubs being interested. Burnley, Brighton and Stoke City are all said to be interested in the Preston North End defensive midfielder. Honestly, I don't think it's going to happen really. You know, Preston at the moment aren't really in need of the money. You know, we've of course recently sold both Jordan Hugill and Greg Cunningham, so financially, you know, we're doing alright at the moment. We don't need the money. If Ben Pearson was to leave, it would have to be a ridiculous amount. It would have to be a really substantial amount for us to be tempted to sell. You know, Ben Pearson is the heartbeat of this Preston North End side, and without him, I can't really see us challenging for the top 6 next season. West Brom at the moment are being linked with a move for Britt Assombalonga. Quite an interesting transfer rumour with, I'm not really sure what the stance is with Middlesbrough around Britt Assombalonga at the moment. The relationship between him and Tony Pulis doesn't seem to be the best. You know, there were a couple of reports coming out that there was a bit of a fallout during pre-season, and last season they didn't really seem to get along the best. So moving to West Brom may be a good thing for his career, but in terms of Britt Assombalonga, he's a proven goal scorer in the Championship. Last season managing to score 15 goals, and I wouldn't argue that Middlesbrough have even seen the best of Britt Assombalonga yet really. And what's quite interesting about that deal is of course that Middlesbrough are interested in Matt Phillips, who currently plays for West Brom, so we could potentially be seeing a bit of a swap deal go on here. So what I'd like to know from Middlesbrough fans is, would you be up for swapping Britt Assombalonga for Matt Phillips? Let me know down below. Of course, last season Britt Assombalonga was signed for $15 million for Middlesbrough, and he doesn't really strike me as a classic Tony Pulis type of striker really, so maybe a change of scenes will be good for him, but I still feel like he's got a lot more to give to Middlesbrough. At the moment it's also been reported that Brighton are interested in Jack O'Connell, of course, the Sheffield United centre-back. Last season he was a player who really went ahead and impressed me, and you know, was one of the best defenders in the Championship. Currently the fee being talked about is around about £6 million, of course, with Sheffield United recently signing John Egan. I think Sheffield United have come out and said that he wasn't a replacement for O'Connell, so they want them to go ahead and play alongside each other, and I think Sheffield United need to do everything they can to keep hold of O'Connell really. And speaking of Sheffield United, they're currently being linked with a move for Martin Waghorn. Now Waghorn has been linked to quite a few Championship clubs at the moment, but there really does seem to be something in this transfer rumour. Now Chris Wilder has actually come out and said that Sheffield United won't be paying what Ipswich have gone ahead and set the price tag on Waghorn as. Currently Ipswich are wanting £8 to £10 million for him. You know, I realistically can't see Sheffield United paying that for him, but reportedly they have made a £5 million bid, so Ipswich may be tempted to sell. And with the type of striker he is, you know, he's hard working, he's fast and nippy, just the sort of player who Chris Wilder really likes, and just the sort of player who would fit into that system. And last season of course he was able to go ahead and score 16 goals and get 11 assists assists as well. So Ipswich fans and Sheffield United fans, where do you think Martin Waghorn will end up at the end of this transfer window? Let me know down below. Wigan Athletic are currently being linked to Ross Wallace. Currently, I believe he is actually training with them, of course, last season playing for Sheffield Wednesday. Of course, I think he was released at the end of that season. Honestly, I actually still think he can do it in the Championship. You know, he is 33 years old, so perhaps he's lacking a bit of pace that he once had back in the day. But, you know, his left foot, he's still got a brilliant left foot on him, and his set-piece deliveries and technical ability, I think he'd be a very good signing for Wigan. Another transfer rumour which caught my eye over the last week was Bertrand Selina, who has been linked with a move to Swansea City. Currently, this deal does look to be quite close to coming off, with a £4 million fee currently being talked about. And last season, of course, we saw Selina in the Championship playing for Ipswich Town. We saw glimpses there of real quality from him. You know, he went ahead and scored 7 goals. One game against my team, Preston, he absolutely ripped us apart. But I don't think we saw the best of Selina last season because he was being managed by Mick McCarthy, you know, quite a defensive manager. I feel like if Swansea are to get the best out of Selina this season, they'll have to play him in a more free role where he doesn't have the limitations of having to track back, because going forward, he is an exceptional talent. Bristol City are continuing their hunt for a goalkeeper in this transfer window, and reportedly they actually had a £3 million bid rejected for Zach Steffen, currently playing in the MLS for Columbus Crew. Now, I can't admit to be the biggest watcher of MLS football, but from what I've read about Steffen, he is actually a very highly rated goalkeeper over in America. So if this deal does come off, it may be a promising one for Bristol City. Another goalkeeper being linked around the Championship at the moment is Tim Krul. Currently, the clubs said to be interested are both Reading and Bristol City. In my opinion, this would be an ambitious signing for both teams, really. You know, he is currently a free agent, so you wouldn't have to be paying that. Wages probably would be quite big for a player like Tim Krul. You know, his career has stalled slightly over the past few years, but I still think he would be an exceptional goalkeeper in the Championship if someone does snap him up. We're also seeing Bolton Wanderers continue the chase for striker Charlie Wyke, of course, currently playing for Bradford City. Currently, Sunderland are also said to be very interested in the player, so it's sort of a battle between these two teams at the moment. Charlie Wyke, he is the sort of player I think Bolton are in need of at the moment. You know, we spoke about them before with the signing of Yannick Vildchut. Getting a striker like Charlie Wyke, and I think they'd be set up fairly well for going into this season. We're also seeing Rotherham United being linked with a move for right-back Billy Jones, of course, last season with Sunderland in the Championship. Definitely not having the best of years, but I still think he is a solid Championship player, you know. Rotherham at the moment, of course, in need of signing a right-back, and with a player of Billy Jones' experience, you know, as long as his mentality is right going into this team, I think it would be a solid signing for them. And then to wrap up the video, reportedly Derby County have had 3 bids rejected for Peterborough striker Jack Marriott. Now, Jack Marriott is a player who is being linked to a lot of Championship clubs at this point in time, and Derby are the team who really are wanting him at the moment. Last season, in all competitions, he managed to score 32 goals, so it's obvious to see why there is so much interest in him, but he really would suit this Derby County system, you know. At the moment, they are in need of that sort of energetic striker compared to the other people they have at the club at the moment. How much would you be willing to pay for a player like Jack Marriott? Let me know down below. So guys, there you have it. There are some of the transfer rumours which are currently going around the Championship. So if you guys have seen any others, let me know about them in the comments down below. But apart from that, guys, that will wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. Make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.